Today I'm going to show you on how to replace the fiber optic handpiece tubing on a Dentalaire Prestige dental station. Parts included with the fiber optic tubing assembly is the fiber optic tubing assembly itself, one zip tie, a supplied Dentalaire screwdriver, two small sleeve clamps or ferrules, one large sleeve clamp and ferrule, one small barb to barb. Tools needed would be a scalpel blade or razor blade, small flathead screwdriver, suture wire cutters or wire cutters, and an adjustable crescent wrench. Start by removing the drill handpiece if it's attached to the tubing. When removing the old fiber optic tubing, start by cutting any zip ties that are in place to secure the tubing. Next, we want to cut the tubing away from the barb where it's attached with your wire cutters. Next, we need to remove the water line from the handpiece tubing. Slide down the small white plastic clamp. Then cut the tubing from the water line so it's removed. Locate and follow the black and white wires from the tubing to where they connect in the back to the fiber optic on-off delay box with the blue wire connectors. Once we located where the black and white wires connect, the order the wires go are black, white, black, black. We need to follow the same order of wires when we connect them. Remove one wire at a time. Once wires have been removed from the delay box, pull them carefully and gently. Next, we need to remove the exhaust tubing that's connected to the handpiece tubing. When the new tubing comes in, it looks like this at the end of it. We need to take the new tubing and cut it so it matches the way the original one looked. Once the new tubing has been cut down to the length to match the original fiber optic tubing, we need to split the tubing into 4 sections. Inside this handpiece tubing is 4 tubings molded into one. We want to split down the middle of all the tubings to separate them. Carefully slice into the tubing without going all the way through. Use the easiest, making a couple passages until the tubing's pierced. Once the tubing has been cut, pull the wires back out of the way. Open up the tubing to expose your splits. Cut down through the middle of the bottom tubings, so they're now cut in half. And then split the last 2 pieces from each other. Once the tubing has been split, we are only going to utilize the 2 right tubings, the upper right large one and the lower right small one. These other 2 tubings get cut down and removed. Once the tubing has been cut down to size, sometimes when the tubings are cut, there's additional edges or ridges on the tubing that might get in the way of sliding the spring on. Take your wire cutters or suture cutters and cut down the side of the tubing so the ridges are off. This will make it easier to slide the spring back onto the tubing. Once you get the spring started, at the same time as you pushing the spring on, twist. The spring will have some pressure and does push on with a little bit of force. Once the spring is on the tubing, push the spring down, hold it in place, and then slide on supplied white sleeve clamp onto the tubing. Once the tubing has been cut down and the spring and sleeve clamp are back onto the tubing, we need to insert the tubing through the bottom of the dentalaire system back up inside the hole. Once the large sleeve and the spring have been put back onto the tubing, connect the tubing back to the adjustment block. Once the tubing has been connected back to the dental machine, slide down the large sleeve clamp to secure it to the block. We need to put the small sleeve clamp onto the remaining small tubing. Press the tubing through the sleeve clamp. At the same time as pushing the clamp on, twist to expose the tubing through the clamp. Once the small sleeve has been placed onto the small tubing, insert back onto the water line, followed by slotting up the sleeve clamp. Next, we needed to connect the exhaust line back to the handpiece tubing. Next, we want to take the black and white handpiece wires, insert them underneath the tubings, as you're doing this, carefully pay attention so we're not overstretching the wires to make them too tight. Next, we need to connect the black and white handpiece wires back to the delay box. Make sure the black wire goes in first. Tighten down with the screwdriver. Do the same thing with the white wire. Once the wires have been inserted, tug on slightly to ensure they have a good connection. Once the tubing has been installed, repressurize, turn on the dental machine, step on the full control to make sure the light comes on. If the light does not come on for any reason, please contact Dentalaire for further assistance.
If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to call 1-800-866-6881 and ask for technical support.